It is difficult to say anything positive about this movie, and it kind of reminds me of the saying, if you have nothing good to say nothing. But at the end of the day, a movie needs a review, and I'll have to be the one to do it. Welcome back to the Bootleg Corner movie review hours once again, and it is Zack Snyder's infantile mess back for a second round, as if we weren't abused enough the first time around. Rebel Moon, this caregiver, the supposed director's cut with full input from Zack Snyder. 2 hours and 20 something minutes of pure undiluted nothing. And just what can I say? I am not surprised or disappointed. I expected it to be bad. I said it during the first Rebel Moon review that there is nothing that can be added to this movie to make it more palatable to the audience. No promises or threats. We can call it threats because promising to release a second installment of this movie should be classified as a crime on its own. But as I was saying, no promises or threats of a director's cut, R-rated or not, could justify whatever went into the production and release of this movie. The plot of this one is where Korra and her newly found warriors return to Veld to prepare the farmers against a possible attack and siege from the Emperor's dreadnought coming to collect the harvested grain. Escrine, I am still not sure how you got roped into this movie, but you'll be moving on regardless. He plays Admiral Nobu, who Korra thought she had killed in the slow motion battle at the ending of Rebel Moon 1, but he was somehow picked up and revived by his soldiers in the dreadnought. The soldiers communicate with the sentry left in Veld to inform them of their arrival plans as well as the general mood around the village. Admiral Nobu is brought back at some point and is shouting to be given command of his ship again, threatening court martials and all sorts of violence, while the medical attendant states that he's not fit to return to service and will need to undergo medical and physical tests to ascertain his status. At this point, the lieutenant comes down from the main dock. Nobu pins the medical examiner by the neck and throws him to the ground, takes a gun and buries a laser in his head. This scene is so chaotic and needless, it would be laughable if it wasn't just sad. This is the kind of scene you might do at the beginning of a movie to introduce a vicious character. You have them kill one of their lackeys to show the audience that this guy is the real deal. This is a common trope with every major antagonist since time immemorial. But you don't need to do this for a character who has been established since part 1 as the bad guy. We already know this guy is evil and dangerous. So how come his own underlings do not know it? Why and does he have to threaten and shout at guys who should be even scared to look at him in the eyes? I mean, you can compare this to Dune and the introduction of Fade Router Harkonnen. Barely 5 sentences spoken, no screaming or cursing, and we can feel the menace of this psychotic character before he even kills these 2 women like he was doing some normal everyday routine. Escrine is screaming his lungs out, Austin Butler barely moving quietly, and if the distance between these 2 films wasn't already emphasized, it is right now. This is a crazy world where the universe is set. They've got huge spaceships that transverse the galaxy, a sentient robot, guns that shoot lasers, and yet Veld looks like it was dug out of the 1500s. No advanced tools, crude houses, minimal architecture. I mean, shit, they are harvesting their grain by hand. So where and how do the technology overlap? They have guns, even though they have mostly been peaceful, but they cannot develop any machinery to aid in their farming, which is their #1 occupation. I mean, like, damn, what is going on? What is really going on? Mr. Slow Motion did not even spare us a dime, running out his gimmick in back to back slow motion scenes with flashbacks as each of the warriors gathered to tell us and each other their backstories and how they came to be this way. It was just slow, soggy, and downright unwatchable. We felt like warming stale, week-old leftovers. I couldn't even sit through the scenes. Slow motion. Not even flashbacks could save us from Zack Snyder's assault on our eyes with this pitiful reenactment of stories as they limped towards the finish line. Then they waste our time with farming montages, piecing away screen time as the villagers harvested their precious grain. The only good part about this sequence was Diamond Hunsu singing, because past that I was just skipping most of these empty scenes. The training up to the battle also just left me a little bit weirded out. They are cheating guys who have mostly never wielded a weapon in their lives, and everyone is taking to it like a fish to water. There was no scene of anyone missing a shot or failing to slice the straw figures. And I mean, like, come on, not even one scene of someone missing a shot or failing to slice. Like, this is as basic as it gets. This is as basic as it gets. Down to the battle. The battle was everything I thought it would be. An incoherent, jumbled mess. The signs of a director who thinks explosions are equal to good action scenes, and the persistence of a misguided use of slow action scenes, and the persistence of a misguided use of slow motion. We did nothing more than dumb down the intensity of the fighting going on. I said it after Rebel Moon 1, is either someone has been going crazy or a child has been left to fiddle with the sliders for the action scenes, because there was and there is absolutely no reason to waste our time through such nonsense. I even tweeted it is as if Zack Snyder does not trust his stunt coordinators, because this has gone beyond reason. How can you just spam the slow motion button so much that the action scenes begin to look repulsive? This scene here is just one sign that craziness is just flowing among the directors and the producers. This guy here, he sees Admiral Noble walking to his ship. He has a loaded gun, clear line of sight, but what does he do? Abandon his near 100% advantage and jump in after Admiral Noble for a 50-50 hand-to-hand combat. I mean, he even has a knife. He didn't even strike with the knife the first time. I mean, seriously, is there no one who can point out these things, or is there a leash on just how much wrong can be pointed out during a Zack Snyder movie during the editing stage? Because from these two movies, it seems like the people at Netflix are so overwhelmed with having Zack Snyder at their studios, they cannot even step up to watch some of the rubbish their money is funding. This robot guy just jumps into the battle like a combo of Superman and Terminator. The lasers don't dent him. He's incredibly strong, has the vertical of Space Jam Michael Jordan. I mean, Zack Snyder, please, respect your audience. Respect your audience. As usual, the dialogue is piss poor, conversation was stilted and unnatural, saying more when they should say less, using words that don't even flow within the conversation, and none of the required emotion to add the bite to their words. Watching Belisarius in the murder of the royal family, I just burst out laughing, because there is no way, absolutely no way, that some of these scenes were filmed in any seriousness. Another example is here where Cora is shooting these guys walking in the engine room. This soldier sees her, and rather than shout something sensible into his mic, he says, "Intruder alert." What human in the history of humanity has ever and would ever say an intruder and say "intruder alert"? I mean, this is something you hear from an automated computer, never from humans. Like when you watch movies, all these cartoons, you hear intruder alert, you know it is an automated computer voice. You will never hear it from a human being. And yet, we hear it in this movie, and it sounds so out of place and turns a serious situation like this into a joke. The final battle wasn't that bad. Thankfully, Mr. Snyder did not give in to his slow motion impulse. Well, I mean, that was the least they could do. Cora needing a rag to tie her hands in order to hold the flaming sword was a nice touch, and I'll commend them for that. But in the end, this was a tiring, bad, abjectly unwanted, and unwatchable sequel to an even more miserable prequel. Zack Snyder, I said it after the first movie, the man who produced Watchmen and 300 has evaporated into thin air. He is nowhere to be found. I recently started the live-action Parasite movie, and it just makes me think that those little creatures have eaten away Snyder's brain, because there's absolutely no way this is the same guy. I mean, how can Watchmen and 300 be on your resume and then Rebel Moon also features on it? Bad acting, empty plots, unconvincing dialogue, horrible fight scenes, the list goes on and on. The only saving grace from this movie, just like in part 1, is the visuals and the design. Past that, you are looking at a thoroughly unwatchable product. I mean, it's ironic that Dune 2 dropped digitally mere weeks before this, and we can see the contrast between the work of a master and a ragtag project cobbled together by a man and a studio who can't seem to accept that Zack Snyder has lost it. I don't know how or why they think they can develop a Rebel Moon universe from this pathetic and weak movie, but if they greenlight the idea, you should just know that the lunatics are now running the asylum. This was a hard and bad watch. It was a tryout to get through to the end, and I only did so because I skipped a lot of scenes. A friend of mine couldn't even sit through part one. And that just goes to show how miserable and dire his experience was. Zack Snyder, you are no longer the man. Your reputation is in the mud, and you are very comfortable on my third watch. As for Netflix, only God knows what is happening upstairs, because there is no way you guys watched your money get thrown into this dumpster fire movie. But then if you go by your track record, this is very much on brand. Big budget movies carried by nothing but star power, and we've seen it playing out, releasing a sequel to one of the worst movies of the year in 2023, and then chasing that same award in 2024. Rebel Moon, this was a 0/10. Most likely this is even owing me points, because my review of this movie is in negative decimals. I'm not recommending this. This is officially the worst movie of the year. And you find out the budget, find out the studio backing, find out the producer, the director involved in this. This was a no-go for me. This is still the Bootleg Corner. Hit us with your thoughts in the comment section. Don't forget to subscribe. Keep it locked in, and I'll be back.